Ben.
Jacob,
Ben.
how are you doing?
Baruch Hashem
Hashem.
HaGadol VaKadosh. Oy.
Hi.
Oy.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff. We should hear much good news very soon.
Sat Hashem.
And I love the sound of babies crying.
I think it's like the StreamYard is like not very well, not very good at isolating noise because nowhere else does it.
Human voice um, amplifies more than most places. But
Let's see. Okay. I put up reduce mic background noise. Let's see what happens.
okay. It's perfectly fine. We love hearing Naftali.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Should we get started? Whose turn was it?
I don't know why if I forget all the time. I think it might. I think it might be me this time.
I'm checking. Nope. See, you're trying to cheat me out of my my reading time.
Okay.
Good job, trying to cheat me.
Take it away.
Chapter Chai.
Hi.
Bebeur midat hasidut, explaining the attribute of piety. Midat hasidut tzricha hi be'emet leviur gadol. So this aspect of piety requires great explanation. Ki minhagim rabim udrachim rabim ovrim bein rabim mibnei adam b'shem hasidut. Because there's a lot of different customs and ways that pass among people as being piety. Ve'enam eila golmei hasidut bli toar ubli tzura ubli tikkun. What does golmei mean? Shells.
Golem.
Shells of piety that lack shape, form, and correction.
Yeah, in Pirkei Avot, there's it says what is the difference between a chacham and a golem, I think,
Right.
or
okay.
it brings something. A golem is somebody that's not refined.
Yeah, and I know with a boar, but I think it also may say golem. I'm not sure golem is shell, but it's I mean it has this aspect, must have this aspect of something external, something that's not truly it.
Yeah, in modern Hebrew, at least, also when we talk about chomer gelem, it is referring to I guess you can call it crude material. So the material that if you're trying to create some kind of product, whatever, you need to have various crude materials in order to construct it.
Isn't a glima an overcoat or something?
Well, glima, I guess it's also, I don't know if it's related etymology. I guess it is like an outer.
Yeah.
Glima. Yeah.
Okay. See, I know some modern Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens because people don't actually think about it. V'haskala, don't understand it. Ha'amitit, truly. Asher leba'alei hamidot hahem. The people who actually have this aspect of piety understand. Ki lo tarchu v'lo yagu ladat et derech Hashem, because they didn't take the time and trouble to know the ways of God. B'yedi'ah berura v'yeshara, in a clear knowledge, in the right way. Eila titchastu, hitchastu, and anytime they put piety in the reflexive, it's not a great thing. they make themselves pious. V'halchu b'ma shenizdamen lahem, and they walk in the ways of the that happen to them. Lefi hasvara harishona, the first idea they have of a pious man must do this. V'lo he'emiku b'dvarim, and they didn't actually dig into the matter. V'lo shaklu otam b'moznei hachokma, and they did not measure it with the scales of wisdom.
I'm hoping that now he's going to bring an example.
See? Vehine eile hiv'ishu et reach hachasidut, and these people have dried up the aroma of piety. Be'einei hamon ha'anashim, in the eyes of most people. Maskilim imahem.
Sorry, I was gonna say if issue in modern Hebrew again, it's how do you say skunk? Say boesh.
Oh, okay.
So it's they've like really
made very nice.
Very foul smell.
I thought yavesh, but I guess there's no aleph in yavesh.
Repulsive, I think they use here. Repulsive odor.
But okay, bet aleph shin. Okay, issue. Okay. And there are some intelligent people among them who also seem to think this. B'asher kvar yachshavu sha'chasidut talui b'divrei hevel o dvarim neged hasechel v'adea hanechona. I should show this to Trey, because they think that piety is either dependent on things that are vanity and worthless, or they think that it's something that's against any reasonable thing and actually knowing something. V'yaminu hayot kol hachasidut talui rak ba'amirat bakashot rabot, and they think maybe being pious means spending a lot of time praying, viduim gedolim, or confessing a lot, ubechiyot, or crying, vehishtahavayot gedolot, or to spend a long time on your knees, ubesigufim hazarim, or to torture yourself in various ways, like a hair shirt or ice baths or whatever. Sheyamit bahem ha'adam et atzmo, that a person kills himself with them. Ketivilot ha'kerech. So this apparently a big thing, especially in Eastern Europe, was people would go and dive naked into the snow, right? V'ashelek ukeyotze b'dvarim ha'ele, right? That it would supposedly maybe be to wake them up. Vehine lo yadu ki af al pi shekatzat devarim ele tzrichim lebaalei teshuva. They don't know that even though some of these things are necessary for somebody who's repenting, ukatzatam re'uyin leparushi, right? And a few of them are right for the ones who set themselves apart, right? The Pharisees. Hine lo al eile nosad hachasidut klal. That this isn't the foundation of piety at all. Ki im hato sheba minhagim haele hu ra'ui lehitlavot el hachasidut. But that which is good in these customs, that is what one should adjoin to piety.
Interesting. So he's making the very similar point, or really the same point as the Rambam is making in Shmona Prakim, when he talks about the confused, foolish people that think that the ones that separate themselves to cure themselves, or right, the Nazir,
right,
are doing it because that is the pinnacle of piety. Right. You don't understand that it's like a cure or something that you do. You don't apply it to a healthy person.
Right. And that, I mean, that this is a common problem. What people imagine that what's good for one thing necessarily is good for something else. And
Mhm.
sometimes you need X and sometimes you need Y and sometimes X is unlike Y and sometimes, right? So there has to be some sechel, there has to be some actually applying the matters to the reality.
Some oral Torah.
Hmm? מציאות החסידות עצמו, but the actual essence of piety itself, הוא דבר עמוק מאוד להבינו על נכון. It is a deep matter to understand it correctly. והוא מיוסד על יסודות חוכמה רבה ותיקון המעשה, and its foundation is based on lots of wisdom and rectifying actions. בתכלית אשר ראוי לכל חכם לב לרדוף אחריו, to its very end, which every wise person of wise heart should run after it. כי רק לחכמים להשיגו באמת. Because only a wise person can truly attain it. וכן אמרו ז"ל, לא עם הארץ חסיד. Right? And just like the sages say in the sayings of the fathers, right? You can't, a simple person may be a very good person, may be in many ways good, but they're still lacking something for piety. True piety requires also that you have a depth of understanding. ונבאר עתה עניין זה על הסדר. So now we'll explain this in its proper order. הנה שורש החסידות הוא מה שאמרו ז"ל, אשר אדם שעמלו בתורה ועושה נחת רוח ליוצרו. And so the root of piety is what the sages said in the Talmud, Brachot 17. Happy is the man, fortunate is the man whose toil is in the Torah, and he does that which is pleasing to his maker. והעניין הוא כי הנה המצוות המוטלות על כל ישראל כבר ידועות הן, וחובתן ידועה עד היכן היא מגעת. So we already know that those commandments which God has commanded Israel, right, the Jews, they're already known, and what they require of us, how much it is that they require of us. Amnam, mi she'ohevet haborei yitbarach shamo, somebody who truly loves the Creator, may His name be blessed, ahava amitit, a true love, לא ישתדל ויכוון לפתור עצמו במה שכבר מפורסם מן החובה, right? He's not going to say, okay, I need to do what is my duty, everyone knows is my duty, and that's fine, and that's all God needs from me. Asher al kol Israel bechlal, that every single person is required to do. Eila yikre lo kamo sheyikre el ben ahu ohev aviv, but it's going to be like to him the same way that it would be to a son who loves his father. שאילו יגלה אביו את דעתו גילוי מעט שהוא חפץ בדבר מן הדברים, that if his father reveals a little bit that he has an inclination, he likes something, right? כבר ירבה הבן בדבר ההוא, that the son is going to then go towards that thing more. ומעשה ההוא, כל whatever that action is, as much as he can. ואף על פי שלא אמרו אביו אלא פעם אחת ובחצי דיבור, and even though his father didn't ever say it to him, and maybe even that he once hinted at it, הנה די לאותו הבן lahavin heichan da'ato shel aviv nota, right? That son is being a wise son understands how much what his father is turning towards to do. Lo gam et asher lo amar lo beferush, and he's going to do even that which his father didn't necessarily tell him exactly. כיוון שיוכל לדון בעצמו שיהיה הדבר ההוא נחת רוח לפניו, right? Since he can understand from his own intellect that this is something that his father would have pleasure in, ולא ימתין שיצווהו יותר בפירוש. He's not going to wait until his father explicitly commands it. או שיאמר לו פעם אחרת, or he says another time, right? This is something I desire. והנה דבר זה אנחנו רואים אותו בעינינו שיוולד בכל עת ובכל שעה בין כל אוהב ורע. Right? We see that this type of thing happens every day among those who really have a love and companionship with someone else. Bein ish leishto, whether it's a husband and wife, ben av uveno, a father and a son. Klalo shel davar, bein kol mi she'ahava beinehem azah be'emet. It's a general rule, right, of how things are done among people who have a strong love between them, right, a true love. Shelo yomar lo nitztaveti yoter, right? He's not going to say, I wasn't asked for more. Dai li b'meh shenitztaveti beferush. It's enough that I did that. My wife, when she says to take out the trash, that's when I'll take out the trash. I don't necessarily take out the trash just because maybe she would like me to take out the trash. You know? אלא ממה שנצטווה ידון על דעת המצווה וישתדל לעשות לו מה שיוכל לדון שיהיה לו לנחת. Right? That it's from that which he is commanded, he is asked to do, right? He also understands the other things that would also go along with that and would cause pleasure, right? והנה, כמקרה הזה יקרה למי שאוהב את בוראו גם כן אהבה נאמנת. So somebody who also has a faithful love of his creator, so similar thing is going to happen. כי גם הוא מסוג האוהבים, because that's also a type of love. ותהיינה לו המצוות אשר ציוויים גלוי ומפורסם. Right? So he's going to do everything that everybody knows. These are the things that God asks, and it's well known. Legilui dat, levad ladat she'el ha'inyan hahu note. Right? Those things which are revealed, besides that which looking into it would tell us to. Retzono v'chefzo yitbarach shemo, right? That we would, by thinking, we would understand that it would be part of God's desire.
Right, like understanding the intent.
Yeah.
Or the principle. Again, we discussed this when we talk about the Gemara and why I think the Kabbalists talk about the Gemara being on such a high level is that it distills the intent more so than the details.
Right. Yeah. Look, you're looking at precisely what God wants in its details, right? There are people who make the mistake of thinking, oh, if I follow the Spirit, I don't need to follow the letter of the law. But the fact is, when you seriously care, you seriously look at every single detail of everything that God has revealed to us, and you try to live your life by it. I have to say, like, okay, so little aside, I got very, very upset when somebody said that they thought the halacha is like the way Judaism teaches that we should kill X, Y, and Z. And like it, what that says is you believe that, because obviously that's not how the most pious Jews that we know act, right?
What do you mean?
He specifically thought that, like, in Judaism, just like in Islam, there's this idea of killing somebody who apostatizes,
Right,
right?
I remember that.
Yeah, that in Judaism we would have a similar thing, even though this is not something Jews have ever done, ever in history, right?
Right.
It was like, okay, you think, but most Jews, okay, they're not so crazy as to follow what they what it says, right? What the actual halacha is, and it shows a misunderstanding of the halachic method, right? If you ever spend a good amount of the time with like Haredi people, with people who are truly religious Jews, you see how in every single detail they try to do precisely that which, and like you can claim that it's too much, and people do, oh, it's too much detail, it's too OCD, it's too, but to claim, no, actually it requires something else than what people do, right? It's like you don't understand Jewish piety at all, right? Jewish piety is to look at exactly everything that God has commanded us, try to understand it as well as you can with serious nature, and to try to do it in the most way possible, right? Not because you're afraid of going to hell or God's going to punish you or whatever, but simply because you love God, because that's what you were created to do. That is what is good in the world. That is what is right in the world, and we want to do that which our Creator wants of us. Okay, sorry for the little.
Yeah, and I'm trying to connect those things, and I also feel like we were both talking about things that we probably don't disagree, but we were talking about two sides of the same coin. Right? I was pointing out to how elevated the conceptual is, or the principle is, and you were talking how important the detail is.
I see.
So
I see. Okay.
So you were making, but wait, I had something actually useful to say here, aside from pointing that out. I think that's what's interesting, and also very, I guess, can be confusing about halacha. If I understand it correctly, is that it, or when you delve into even the Gemara, or right, going through that, is that it can be, it touches on so many levels at the same time that sometimes it's hard to understand if at what level the discussion is right now, because it's both, in one respect, it's like reading the guiding, it's like opening up your municipality and seeing, like, okay, what are the laws for people that are jaywalking? Right. And then you have like very specific details, like ordinances, and you're like, what is, like, nobody will read that, right? Like, you don't really read those things, but if you did, it'll probably sound a little bit like that. But at the same time, it talks about principles, and maybe this is what your friend was talking about, where they're elevated, or like they're like, this is the principle of justice, let's say, or however that's construed, but then it needs to be applied at various different levels, or there's so many other things that need to be applied to it. including principles but it's not there. So
I think Adam is saying something similar. He says, sometimes it seems to me halacha goes to make a spiritual law into words related to reality, and it looks like missing the mark.
Seems to me goes to make
I would say it's possible to view it that way. Like, why does Torah start? Why does Torah study require shimush rabbanim? Why does it require actually living with in a Jewish community and living with and learning from how a rabbi actually lives his life, a procedural, like, because there is the other parts of it. It's not, Torah is not just propositional. It's also procedural, prescriptival, and participatory.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's probably an additional way to think about when it talks about it. One level, it might talk about it in a propositional level, but you need to then apply all those different other levels to it.
Yeah. And that's when it becomes absolutely real. And that's why the oral law ultimately has to be transmitted from person to person in its fullness. Okay, weiter. Va'az lo yomar dai li b'meh she'amur b'ferush, and he's not going to say it's good enough that which said, oh, eftor atzmi b'ma shemutal alai al kol panim, or I'm going to do that which is necessary for me from whatever it is. Eila adarabba yomar kevan shkvar matzati ra'iti shechavtso yitbarach shamo notel lazeh, that once I can see, I found that this is something that God desires towards, his desire leans towards. Yeli le'einayim laharbot bazeh ha'inyan, right? It would be right for me to do this even more, l'archiv oto bechol hatztadim, and to expand it in all its manners, that I can understand that he would want. And that's what it means to be somebody who does gratifying things for his maker, for his creator. Nimtza. Klal ha'hasidut, harchavat kiyum kol hamitzvot, bechol hatztadim v'hatnaim shera'ui v'she'afshar. So we find that the actual rule of being a pious person is to expand doing that which is God's commandments in every one of its manners and all of its requirements, the way that it should be and is possible. Vehincha ro'eh ha'chasidut mimin ha'prishut. And so you would see that piety is actually a manner of separation of prishut. Eila shehaprishut belavin v'hachasidut ba'asin. Right? And similarly, like we did this several times before, right? One is by removing that which is not according to godliness, that which is prohibited. And the other one is by positively actually doing that which God tells us to do. V'shnehem inyan echad. And they're ultimately one side of the same coin. Shehul, what?
Bedibur echad.
Yeah. Shehu lahosif al hamafurash ma shenuchal ladun לפי המצווה המפורשת שיהיה נחת רוח לפניו יתברך, that we would add from that which is clearly stated that God commands us to that which would be gratifying to God. Zehu geder hachasidut ha'amiti. This is the true measure of border of piety. Va'ata nevaer chalako harashayim. And now we're going to talk about its primary divisions. It's all you.
So I ask a question.
No questions. Questions are not allowed. Yeah.
So let me phrase it as a statement. So here he's saying that Chassidut, I mean, the way that a person, he gives the examples of, you have peoples and dynamics and relationships where you perceive the intent or what the other person wants to do, and you do that. And I think how the way he explains it is you do that through love, right? If it's like a parent-child relationship or a couple, because you love that person, it's not only what they tell you that you need to do. You perceive their intention beyond it, and you want to do above and beyond. Or you can apply, if they tell you to take out the trash, you can apply, okay, they probably just also want the kitchen to be tidy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how that also applies, if that can, like, that is the only way that this can apply is through love, or there are other ways that this can apply through. Because if I'm thinking, let's say I'm working in a business and I have a team of people that are working for me, or I'm borrowing something like there. I know there is something called the commander's intent, right? So let's say working a team. What should the relationship between myself, if I'm the boss, and my team should be if I want them to really understand my intent? It's not that I'm looking for their affection or love. It's something else that I'm hoping they would have in order for them to not only care or perceive my explicit direction, but also build on top of that. Does that make sense?
I think I understand what you're saying. So, I mean, he keeps on going back through this, Sur Merava Setov, right? And we have this, we talk about God, Avinu Malkeinu, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are two sides, Avinu Malkeinu, right? Like our father, like our king, right? And there is a way in which it's divided into two different things, right? At the same time, when you truly look into one, you should be able to see the other, right? Which is, so, okay, your boss is telling you the things that he requires from you, and you don't want to get fired, etc., 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 right? And so it's not necessarily the most loving relationship, especially, sometimes, okay, you're doing it, you want your check, you want to go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also when you form a strong relationship or bond, right? And that bond does start with, okay, I answered an ad, this person hired me. If it wasn't for the money, I wouldn't do it, right? And it eventually becomes something that is far more than just the money, right?
Right.
So is it other than love? Maybe. Does it have its root in something other than love? Maybe.
Mhm.
The like this is one of the things I get at with the Christians a lot. God is love, love is not God, right? And Christians a lot of times they say, if I have not love, I have nothing, right? It's like, you're making too much of love.
Right.
At the same time, so
I mean,
funny enough,
it's funny. It's making too much of love. Part of the problem of that is not only that it's diminishing or reducing something. It also it's impractical because you don't. While you say that, you have to do so many other things in your life that do not that cannot be conceptualized from love. So it has a duplicity in it that
and
is.
I was about to say the highest relationship is love, but
Mhm.
then I was reminded that actually the highest relationship isn't love at all. It's Yira Ilah, right? We
Mhm.
talk about Yud K Vav K, right?
Mhm.
So the highest of all relationships is Yira Ilah. The lowest of all relationships is Yira Tata,
Mhm.
and Ahava Ilah and Ahava Tata. So there's higher awe of God, there's
Mhm.
lower awe, and there's higher love and lower love, right? And it goes higher awe, higher love, lower awe, right?
Mhm.
And there is, I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes you love someone so much that it hurts, right? Just
Mhm.
the idea of letting them down, like it
How do you connect that? What?
because that's what higher awe is, right? It's not a happy, it's not it's not that happy, you know, everything is wonderful type of love.
Mhm.
It is that um intense type of love that is has an edge to it, has like I don't know if I'm
What? And you mean
describing
the
it well
intense
or if
kind
I
of
can,
awe?
but what.
You mean the intense kind of awe that goes beyond the higher love?
Yeah, I mean it kind of is a type of love, but it's beyond love. It's
Yeah, I'm trying to apply this. So, like I'm thinking of I'm thinking of like something that somebody says about like their wife or their spouse rather. They would say something like, "I'm just like, do you love her?" Or so they might say like, "No, I'm just in awe of her. I'm just in awe of her." And I feel like I've heard that. Like there is something to that. I don't, but I'm trying to. Is that a signal for something that I'm trying to apply that
I
to
don't
couples
think
that
you
I know
can
that have a good relationship. If that's kind of like the way that maybe it's
I
interesting.
I don't think you can have higher awe certainly, and even higher love without having lower love and lower awe.
Of course.
So even trying to split it into the two, like there is some utility to that,
Hmm.
but I think you have to be. Uh, I'm reminded one of the people on the Discord server posted a diagram he had made of the relationship between various things within God, right? And
Hmm.
I didn't disagree. I didn't agree with the diagram. I think it was a mistake. But just the attempt to explicitly create that type of thing, it just seemed wrong. Devar Maus, right?
Mhm.
Just seemed like something like what it reminded me of was this guy that I didn't know very well. His girlfriend had sent him a picture that was smoking hot, and he was showing us, right? It was like, yeah, I'm happy for you. Why are you showing me that picture?
That's what it reminds me of. Interesting. It's like yeah. I mean, it makes me think of like going into Kabbalah with like too many details, like delving into Kabbalah with too many details, and publicly it'll be the same as showing a.
It is.
I mean, even
Oh,
metaphorically, it is the same. Yeah, I mean, Kabbalists will
the
never.
metaphor is clear in the Mishnah and in many other places.
Maybe it goes into the theme of this kind of our discussion of like applying or misapplying or using the levels that we talked about, the different levels that we talked about, principle details, and applying the wrong tools for them, or having the wrong perspectives.
Yeah.
There's something into that.
Yeah. I don't know what Adam is saying.
Let's see. Well, this I understand, right? Like the laws related to pairs of cups. I don't know what pairs of cups. I don't know.
Laws is he talking about?
I don't know the law, but I can kind of I understand the intention.
The details of halachas, yeah, they're very there's a lot in terms of mindfulness there. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's saying that instead of just telling me that, instead of telling me that I should bless, that I should think about what's the main ingredient in my meal, and that should be the blessing of just telling me to be conscious of what I'm eating, or something like that, But also, again, that might be a reduction of the law itself, because you're applying one frame to it, where there might be other frames that could be applied to it. It's not only about that. I think that might be one thing. I think we're not drinking a pair of cups.
I don't know what he's talking about.
We need a
yeah, you need to give a citation, and we'll see what exactly you're talking about. That is a very interesting thing to say to God. Sometimes I go through moments of, why can't you hug me in a dream? I promise it'll stay between us. It's cute.
Sounds like a poem, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, are we going to start chapter 19?
I don't know. Maybe we can leave it for.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to leave chapter 19 for next time. Let me put it into the thing so that I remember.
Okay, so that was my turn.
It is, yes. It's going to be Ben's turn. Ben's turn. There you go. It's
cool. Everybody
it's set in stone. Everybody's gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll be 19. One of the weird things about Judaism, somebody asked me, like, is there any unlucky number in gematria? I'm like, nope. There's no unlucky number. They're all lucky.
Not even 19.
Not even, certainly not 19. Are you kidding? 19. 19.
Mm-hmm. Not to speak of 20. 20 is a whole little.
304. If there's one number, it's probably 304.
304.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna. You'll have to post the citation in the.
Yes, please.
In the Discord, Adam. Okay. Good night, people. Have fun.